And welcome back, everybody, to the Podcaster Nation. That's right. I said welcome back because I know you were just listening to our stuff and you loved it so much you came back for more. Folks, you are wise beyond your years because we have a lot more for you. Got an absolutely fantastic guest today. All kinds of stuff we're going to talk about. And you know why he's here is because this is the podcast that is about podcasters. It's for podcasters. It's done by podcasters. And he, in fact, is a podcaster. Folks, you cracked the code. You figured us out. This is the place where we all come together to raise each other up, and this is the place where the rising tide raises all ships. So let's get sailing, introduce our guest today. Please welcome the host of Shut Up and Grind, the podcast, and the author of the book, Shut Up and Grind. Please welcome Robert Foster. Robert, how you doing today, brother?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right. Well, you are welcome here. Welcome to the nation. Love that you're here today. I know we want to talk about the podcast and the book and everything. Before we get rolling, tell all of our audience who is, Robert Foster, man. What are you about? What brings you here today?
So Robert B. Foster is a competitor, first and foremost. And when we start my story, I'll get into the backstory of how I became that competitor. So I think it's important to understand that to really understand this version of me today at the ripe old age of 50. So, but deep down at my core, so life throws everybody curveballs, but people have to remember that curveballs can also be hit for home runs. So knowing who you are at your core is paramount to achieve any level of success.
Nice, nice. I love that. I did read a little bit about your story. I mean, I know you've been through some stuff, man.
Yes.
I mean, in particular, the first thing, of course, that I heard about was your injury and your comeback and all that. But I mean, there's a lot more to it. Let everybody know. Maybe you want to start there. What kind of stuff have you had to overcome, and what did it do to you, and how'd you get through that?
You want all that in 45 minutes?
Just hit it.
All right. So again, to really understand the stories, I just got to quickly revisit my childhood. So I'm the youngest
Sure.
of seven, and we were all athletes. Right. So for whatever reason, I got the genetic short straw.
Oh,
So my
okay.
brother's 6 foot, muscular. Even my sister was 5'9", very athletic, very strong. And to put in perspective, as a freshman in high school, I was 5'4", 88 pounds.
Oh
Right.
my
So,
gosh. Yeah.
so I'm watching my siblings tear up in their respective sports. And it wasn't like a negative envy, but like I wanted my own shine. But I was just too short. I was just not strong enough. Like I ended up playing one season of football because my mom wouldn't let me play because I was just so scrawny. She was afraid I was going to get broken in half. So one year, my dad just went behind the back and just signed me up. I had a pretty decent season. Like I went from bench warmer to starting receiver and safety. My mom came to one game, and in that one game, I about got broken half, and she didn't come to any more. Like we made the playoffs, and she didn't even care. Right? So anyway, so one of the first pivotal moments was as a freshman. I'm on the outdoor track team, and I go in to see the track coach, and I asked him for the record book, and he looked at me just like this. He said, "Why do you want the record book?" And I said, "Because I'm going to break the high jump record." Now, my oldest, well, they're all older. My sister was a high jumper. She was very good at it. Ended up being state champion. And to me, it just looked fun. I didn't really want to do it because she did. It looked fun. And of course, her winning now gave me the drive to like, hey, I want to try to win too. So I had the high jump record circled. My brother used to do the triple jump, and he would walk around with a white T-shirt with his triple jump marks on it. And little did he know, I had a notepad writing them down. Right. So my mission was to break the school high jump record and to erase my brother's best marks. Right. So the coach says to me, "You don't have what it takes to be a high jumper." He's like, "Why don't you go try hurdling?" And I was like, "I want to be a high jumper." And again, he doubled down. "You don't have what it takes." He's like, "I think hurdling will be better for you." So now we fast forward. Not only do I break the high jump record and held it for 21 years, I broke the pentathlon record, almost broke the long and triple jump record. I was within a half an inch of both of those. And I broke the Southern Division triple jump record, which I held for 24 years. And I don't even share that as a flex. It's to let people know the takeaway from that story is if your vision is strong, nothing can shake you from it. Because even at 5'4", I knew eventually my dad was over 6 feet, my two brothers were over 6 feet, my sister was almost 5'10". Like at some point, my genetics is gonna match my drive. And so I just studied the sport, put the work in while my friends are out doing foolish teenager stuff. I was training. I was studying, I was reading books. Like I became a student of it. And that's how that ended up happening. So now in everyday life, when you see people struggling, it's like we live in the best time ever. Like there are people, just go to any social media. There are people without an ounce of education, without an ounce of talent, who are making millions of dollars. It's like, let that sink in, people.
Right, exactly. Boy, that's not even a joke. I'm an older guy, and so I'm sitting here, and I've coached a lot, and I'm sitting here just from the coach's standpoint. I'm like, he's talking to a freshman,
Yeah,
right? And I mean, I have two boys who skyrocketed in size. You know what I mean? From freshman to senior year. My goodness, they're not even the same kid. And I'm like, you're telling a freshman who's got all this drive and that kind of positivity, and you're saying you have no shot. You're not cut out for that. You could
it's
be
crazy.
6'8" by the time you're a senior, and then he missed out on training you for 4 years. It just that boggles the mind, man. But you never know where that negativity is going to come from, do you?
True. And like I coach track and field now, indoor and outdoor. And I would never say that to any of the kids. And honestly, and there are some who just don't stack up, but you don't tell them.
Right,
It's like you coach them like they have the potential to get there.
right.
It's like you can't just completely kill somebody's dream. And too many times in life, even as adults, we do that. Right. I spoke at, I believe it was a fourth grade elementary school class. And as I'm in there, I'm asking the kids what they want to be when they grow up. And this one girl says she wants to be a singer. Right. And I said, would you like to stand up and sing now for us? And she was like, no, what if people laugh? And I said, what if they don't? Right? Because there's two sides to every what if. I said, what
Right.
if they don't? So she sings, and I had the class get up and give her a standing ovation. I mean, did she have Whitney Houston's voice? No, but I wanted to give her the courage because at fourth grade, you're like what, 9, 10, somewhere around there.
Right.
So
Yeah.
to give her the courage to do it, because you can get a vocal coach, you can work on things. By the time she's in high school, she might be amazing. But it's like you don't go and clip at anyone's wings because you'll be surprised what people can accomplish once they get that vision and they dial in.
Yeah. I love that story. I love that you actually got her to sing. That's a great story.
Thank you.
That's fantastic. All right. So you're coaching is something that comes naturally to you then because it's what you're doing professionally. It's also what you're doing. It sounds like is that a full-time gig? Is that on the side? I mean, tell me how coaching kind of wraps up in your life here.
Well, I became a restaurant supervisor at the age of 15. I became a general manager at 19. So I've been in leadership positions my entire life, but it actually started as being a captain of my sports teams. So being that go-to, come on guys, we got this, we can do it. Like so and so,
Yeah.
come on, you're not pulling your weight, we need you today. So like that, it's just in my DNA. Like it's just who I am and how I am. So as I got into coaching, as of right this second, it's a side gig, but I'm about to launch a main gig probably in about 6 weeks or so. So I
Nice.
meet with a potential partner investor on the 7th of July, and we'll see where this goes because I am very self aware. I know I suck at the business side of business, right? Right. On the front end, I am very good. Put me in front of any stage, I will rock any stage, rock the house, no matter where I go, no matter what the topic is. Like my stories are dialed in. Like I don't say that arrogantly. My stories are dialed in. So my program is geared to teach other people how to get their stories dialed in. For example, I host an event every April. It's called the New England OCR Expo. That's obstacle course race. So where we bring obstacle racers from all over, and we just have this big celebration of the sport. And so last year, the keynote speaker, he has a fascinating story. but he totally lost the room. Like
Oh no.
people were on the cell phones. Some of the vendors got up and went back to their tables because he didn't know how to tell his story. So I actually spent 1 hour with him when I was still testing my program, and like I was still putting the finishing touches on the book because that's what my book is. It's a how to. It's a how to master your stories. And so I spent that 1 hour with him, and then he was the opening speaker for this year's expo, and talk about a complete 180. So like that's a skill. Like a lot of people can talk about what happened, but they don't really understand how to take somebody on a journey and get them dialed into what you're saying rather than listen. Hi, I'm Ralph Foster. I wrote a book and I do this and I do that and I. Right? Nobody wants to hear all the I.
Right.
They want to hear how your story applies to me.
Yeah.
Right? That's what people want to hear.
Nice.
And so my coaching program, the book, and even my podcast, I bring guests from all over the world to share their stories of overcoming slash defying the odds.
Yeah. No, I love what you do with the podcast. I mean, you do a really good job of keeping that going. I mean, you've got this attitude today here on this show, and I've seen you in videos with the same, sort of energy and stuff. But in your podcast, you have that too. It's a very positive vibe and it's very encouraging, and you can tell your guests, pick up on that. And
Yes.
sort of jump in and they're like, oh yeah, and so they're in, and not when the story, needs to come down, then of course they come
Yeah.
down with the storytelling, but you do a really good job of keeping them going. You know what I mean? To where the listener's not just like, even when they hit a low point, where, oh, this happened,
Yes.
the listener's not like, oh God, I don't want to hear this anymore. My goodness, you're like, okay, but then you came back, right? Hey, this is how it worked. So I love
Yes.
that part of what you're doing. Um, I guess kind of where does all of this come from? Because you've got, you're really competitive, youngest child, the whole bit. I mean, I get it. I'm looking at all this as, if I have my dad glasses on, I'm like, what really motivated all of this? I mean, I know you've been through some tough times yourself. Is that kind of where that comes from, or, let us know.
Yeah. So I did a podcast at 1 o'clock, and it was about resilience. And people ask me all the time, like, how do you stay so positive? Like, how are you always in a good mood? And I said, because life has tried to break me multiple times and it can't. So no matter what I go through, and to put it, so as you asked that question, I was thinking which avenue I wanted to go down because I've been through so many things. Right. So
Sure.
I think the best one to answer it would be 2 years ago, just 2 short years ago, I lost everything. Everything. House, car, kids were split up, nowhere to live. Like
Wow.
literally everything. And it's one of those things where it's very easy to point the finger and say this happened because this person did me wrong because this situation happened and this happened, and I went into a depression. Right now, I'm always happy go lucky, so getting depressed isn't my thing, right? But I went into this dark place for probably about 2 months because again, nowhere to live. I had to swallow my pride, call my mom, and come back home. And then now you get that stigma. I was 48 at the time, living in my mother's basement, right? So
Yeah.
it's one of those things where I just completely lost my way, and that's not like me. Like I paused the podcast, and there was one moment. It was just a moment where if I could have found them, I would have swallowed an entire bottle of pills. But fortunately, I wasn't able to find them, right? Because
Yeah.
hey, it wasn't my time, right? It's like no. You're just having a moment. You got to get through this moment. So I restarted my podcast, and that very first guest told me a story of how she moved from Vancouver, Canada to Hollywood because she wanted to break into Hollywood. She said she got a list of every single studio in Hollywood and LA, and she went to each one and just knocked on doors until she got a yes. And I was like, that's the epitome of shut up and grind. I'm like, why am I sitting here feeling sorry for myself? All right. I was going to leave fitness altogether and pursue digital marketing,
Hmm.
but that's not where I belong. It's like, yes, it's lucrative. I could have made so much per client, and just 10 clients a year would have made me $320,000. But it's like that's not where I belong. And so taking this woman's approach, I went up to my local high school to see if I could help out with the track team. And that very first practice, my soul got relit. Just working with those students, watching them seeking the info, watching them applying what I'm teaching them. I'm like, this is where I belong, right here. I went into that depression because I lost my purpose. Because my purpose was helping people get fitter, stronger, healthier, and coming on these platforms and sharing my experiences to help other people who might be stuck in a rut. So when I lost that, I lost me.
Yeah.
And in losing me, I went to that dark place. But that was how I got out of it, because when you're in the dark place, like when you turn off the lights, you can't see. Right? You can have the most beautiful things in your house or in your office or wherever you are, but with the lights off, you can't see any of them. So when I was in that dark place, I couldn't see the opportunities waiting for me. So once I went back to school, the fire was lit, right? So now the lights are back on. And then from there, just positive thing after positive thing, it just had a positive snowball effect. And then, like I said, I had restarted the podcast immediately. Once I focused on it, I was booking 6 months out. Even my show now, I'm booking into April of 2026. I have 40 guesting gigs lined up, because I'm focused on my vision and I'm back into my purpose. So that's how you get out of that dark place.
That's so huge. I love that you went there with it, talking about purpose, because whenever I hear somebody who's that low, who has fallen down there, and I've been there myself, that is the common denominator, is that we've lost that purpose, that thing that tells us this is why you get up tomorrow,
Yes.
So it's amazing that you were able to identify that, in yourself, and get out of that. I mean, I'm certainly glad you made the decisions you made, but um, for coaching to have relit that, I mean, you struck me right off the bat as a coach, point blank, period. When I was listening to your stuff and watching your stuff, the word coach was in my head. So it seems like that's a calling for you.
Yes, because there's trainers, like there's people who say that I'm a personal trainer, and then there's fitness coaches, because they are not the same thing. Like a trainer is someone that can take you through a workout. A fitness coach is someone that can change your life. So it's not just about pushing a heavy sled or holding a 2 minute plank. Like that's nothing. That's teaching you the physical resilience, which will in turn help you with the mental resilience. Because if
Yeah.
you just give up on things physically, you're just going to give up on things mentally. Because like I tell people, say we did with my track team, we had done a 1 minute wall sit, and they're all shaking, the backs are coming off the wall, and all this other stuff. So I had set the clock. They didn't know this. This was a couple weeks later. I had set the clock for 3 minutes, but it was on my phone, so they couldn't see it. And in those 3 minutes, I told them a story. I don't remember which story I told them, but I told them a story. And they were so focused on my story, they had no clue that they just held a 3 minute plank. I mean, sorry, 3 minute wall sit. I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
how long do you guys think that was? Like a minute and a half, like 2 minutes? I'm like three. Like we just 3x'd your physical capability simply from occupying your mind. So the takeaway from that is the law of attraction is real, whether people want to believe it or not. Like whatever you focus on, that's what you're gonna get. If you
Right.
focus on God, this sucks, God, this sucks, God, this sucks, eventually you're gonna come off the wall.
Right.
Right. But they were so dialed into my story that they couldn't even feel the physical pain. Like that's how powerful the mind is.
Nice. So this is what you're doing for your team, but this is what you do for your clients too.
Yes, yeah, because it's about reframing. So I'll tell you another story. So this woman trained with me for years and years, right? Then we had lost touch for a bit, and then she reaches out to me. And to be fair, I dodged her at first because she can be a handful sometimes, right? So,
Okay.
so I finally respond, and come to find out, like a year prior, she went to visit her brother. Knocks on the door. No, he doesn't answer the door. So she gets the spare key, goes in, and he's dead in the living room.
Oh,
And he was probably dead for some time, because what she described, I won't go into detail here, but what she described was not good.
yeah.
So she herself went into a dark place, but where she did well was she started her own gym because she needed an outlet. And so I met with her because she's local here in Rhode Island. So I went up to her gym and we spent about an hour and a half together. So now I watched my father die in 2019. So we were
Mm.
able to share stories of loss. But I showed her not so much what happened to my dad, how we moved on the second we left that room. See, and that's the difference between speaking and storytelling. Like I can sit here and just tell about how my dad got sick, lost a bunch of weight, had open heart surgery. Like that's just telling what happened. The story begins when you leave the room because now you have to pick up the pieces of your life without that person in your life.
Yeah.
So as I shared that story, then I got hers. Right. And so as I was listening to her, I was like, right, when you shut that door, what were your thoughts? It's like when you got into your car, did you leave right away? Did you sit there in disbelief? You know, when you walked back into your apartment, did you have any regrets of not maybe reaching out sooner? Right. And I just completely just dissected her story. And then at the end of it, I said, so now for you to heal from this, because right now you're stuck on the what. Okay. So we got to take that what, take all these teachable moments that we just extracted, and we got to use it for something good. Going back to that word purpose. I said, you should take this gym and niche it down to people who have lost someone. I said, you take pictures of your brother and you take all of his one liners, because everybody's got one liners. Right? I said, put pictures of him up there with his best one liners. And now, when you're having those feelings of sadness, you can look at that photo, look at that one liner, and it's going to warm your heart. Like I have a picture here with my dad. You know, so I have those days where I miss him. He's right here. I have this photo of him that this the way the lighting is. You know,
Gotcha.
but
Yeah.
this is right here with his quote. You know, those we love don't go away. They walk beside us every day. You know, so it's like
Yeah.
to bring yourself out of that place of pain, you have to replace it with gratitude, right? So like when I mentioned my dad dying, you know, I had him for 45 years. 45 years. There were people who had abusive fathers, alcoholic fathers, never knew their
Yeah.
fathers, were abandoned by their fathers. You know what I mean? Like the list goes on and on. My dad was a rock in my life for 45 years. And I went from a place of thank you. Because none of us are getting out of this alive. Death is undefeated. You
Right.
know what I mean? So death is a part of life.
Right.
So that was just his time to go. And then the other part, with hindsight being 2020, because of 2020, if he lived into the COVID time, he would have been alone and he would have died alone. And right, we wouldn't have been able to see him. So we can take that gratitude that there were about 12 of us around him when we ended care. And they were able to unsedate him enough to where he could be responsive to us. But
Hmm.
like he had tubes in his nose and in his mouth, so he couldn't talk, but he could say, you know, do yes and no. So we all got to take turns saying our goodbyes. And it's like, that's awesome. You know how many people just die in their sleep or
Yeah.
just drop unexpectedly? It's like we got to give him an amazing ending.
Yeah.
And in the moment, was it still heart wrenching? Of course it was, you know,
Right. Yeah.
but just, you know, once the initial sadness subsides, you're like, I want an ending like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like that was amazing. My mom sang their childhood song. Well, not childhood, my dad was older, but when they first got together, you know, they had their song, and my mom singing the song. We're all bawling like babies, you know. It was, like I said, for such a sad time, it was an amazing moment.
Yeah. You're blessed that you had that moment, man. You really are. Most don't.
Absolutely.
You're right. Most don't get that.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's man, and you know, you're exactly right too. It's all about your perspective, you know.
Yes.
And so I had all these years with him that I could lean on him, that he was there for me, and he was a rock, like you said. That's beautiful. And yeah, you're right. Most people don't have that at all, you know, and you've
It's
got that
true.
to hang on to. But you know, once again, that's a great way of looking at that with your perspective. You've become very good at this, I can tell. Um, where does that come from? Is this self-taught? Did you learn this from someplace? I mean, or is this just, you know, life manifesting this way?
So the originator of Shut Up and Grind, although he didn't say it this way, it was my dad. So he was an engineer, very brilliant man. Like he skipped sixth grade and eighth grade. Yeah, so he went from fifth to seventh, seventh to ninth. Right? Very, very smart man. Went to Syracuse University, got an engineering degree. But just watching him work, like if, for example, I always use this example with him. He came home with this car that was so beat up. I remember my mom and one of my sisters in the window watching him come up the driveway, and we're like, "What on earth is that?" 6 months later, I was driving. Right, like he could make the impossible possible. Right. Another quick one. My parents bought a dining room table and they bought a refrigerator. Right. So I guess they underestimated the size, which is weird for my dad. Being an engineer, he's like precise. He's very precise. So the new stuff comes in, and we had a window, a door, and the table was here. So the table was a little wider, and the door couldn't fully open. Right. So normal people would get a smaller table. Oh no, not my dad. He wanted that table and that fridge. So I remember coming down to visit them on a Saturday morning. He's got the side of the house ripped apart, right? And I'm like, what are you doing? He reframed the house and he switched the door in the window.
Oh
Like
my gosh.
that's the epitome of shut up and grind. Right? It's
Wow.
like he wanted those two. He spent an entire Saturday, I think, into Sunday, reframing everything to switch the door and the window. It's
Wow.
like
Priorities,
I
man.
I look back on that, but that was his mentality. No matter what he wanted, he found a way to get it done.
Yeah.
So growing up watching that, like, and I helped him on a bunch of things. So like I watched it in real time as we're doing stuff. He's like, all right, stop. We got to go back to Home Depot. He's like, this isn't working. And he'd go buy like a whole new tool, to do the thing that he wanted to do. And so just growing up watching that, and then I had my own drive trying to chase down my siblings' records, So just between the two, that just forged into my personality.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, it's the whole house. I'm just picturing this massive construction project. I'm sure a lot of people think this way. I would have gotten a different table. That's just me.
Exactly, me
No
too.
problem. No problem. I don't need the table that bad. Goodbye. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, when your mind's set on something, I love this. I really do. So a lot of this does, in fact, then come from your dad, and
Uh-oh.
this is kind of how you were raised and taught, right? Oh, did I lose you? Are you back?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It froze for a second.
Okay. All right. The so what I was saying was a lot of this does in fact then come from your dad, and that's where you learned it, and that's who instilled this in you to be the shut up and grind guy now.
Yes. So let me give you another example. We'll take track and field. So as that skinny freshman, like I didn't do too great. So in that regard, I mean, the coach wasn't wrong, but it's like for that moment, like I wasn't good as a freshman. Like he didn't have to completely kill the whole career, right? So in the high jump, I jumped 5 foot 4 inches, I believe, which is not good. So sophomore year, to be fair, I missed about 2/3 of the season because I got injured playing basketball. But when I came back, I barely missed making states, and I was not happy that I missed states at all. And so that in itself, forget lighting a fire. That started a furnace. I was like, that is not going to happen again. And I trained, and it helped because I grew like 5 to 6 inches over that summer. So finally got the growth spurt that I needed. Right? And so junior year, I tied the school record, and then senior year I broke the school record. But it was like just having that, playing a long game. Like with everything being so fast nowadays, people are forgetting how to play the long game. It's like it doesn't have to be done in 48 hours. Like just take your time, zero in on what you want, feel it, and then just go after it. Do what it takes every single day to get yourself back. Like, and that flows into my knee story. Because in 2009, I was told I would never run or jump again. Right. And when you
Wow.
hear
Yeah.
those words, right, I have 5 kids, right? And when you hear those words, I am human. So at first I was just thinking, I'll never be able to play basketball with my kids or run around the playground. And at the time, they were 9, 6, 2, and the twins were 4 months. So it's like I did go down that path at first. Started tearing up there as I'm in the ER. But then competitor Rob jumped out, and he was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! This guy doesn't know how we're gonna heal, right? It's like we didn't even have the surgery yet, right?" And I started thinking, like, when somebody breaks an arm, right? If they have to have surgery to have it reset, that doesn't heal them. That just resets the bone. They put a cast on you, and the body heals itself, right? So I'm like, so this guy actually has no bearing on how I'm gonna heal. I said, so before we even had the surgery, I was like, I'm making a full comeback. And the doctor's like, it's probably less than 10%. I said, thanks. That gives me even more fuel because I'm going to be in that less than 10%. Right. I said, because that to me, that just says it's possible. And if it's possible, I'll go all in to make it happen.
Right.
Like, I'm not one of these guys that plays the woe is me victim card. That isn't me. When I set my eyes on something, it happens. So every day, I did what I had to do. So leaving the hospital, they gave me minimums of things to do. They didn't give me any maximums. So I did that stuff all day long. And people were asking me, do you think you're doing too much? I'm like, no. They said minimum 3 hours a day. Okay. I did 8. So I met the minimum. Right? And with physical therapy, as a fitness coach, one thing that grinds my gears is like people will go to physical therapy, but they won't do the exercises. It's like that doesn't make any sense to me. So,
Right.
so it's like I made sure I did my exercises twice a day, not just once a day. I did it twice a day,
Okay.
and so when the injury happened, 2 of my 4 quadricep muscles had complete atrophy. So I had to have electro stim pads on them. And again, they said minimum 3 hours a day,
Yeah.
no maximum. Did it all day long. Between that and the CPM machine, like I just maximized everything. So this was only maybe 4.5 months in. I'm at the playground. I'm sorry, I was at the track with the kids, and they're running around being kids. And I was like, you know what? Let me see if I can get both feet off the ground. Now, granted, I look like a newborn giraffe, but I did run. I ran, and that was the moment when I knew I was coming all the way back.
Wow. Most people would not have done any of those things that you just talked about. I mean, they would have been like, "Oh,
Absolutely.
wow, really? Well, I guess I can't run again then.
See,
I got to
and
figure out
that's
life."
exactly why I constantly share that story, because it's not about, oh wow, you're awesome. It's not about that. It's about, don't let people try to tell you what you can do,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you're right. I met someone. I think I was at a Walmart. Like, he saw my big brace. This was only, I don't know, maybe 6, 7 weeks post surgery, and he had the same surgery, and he couldn't bend his leg past 90 degrees. He's like, oh, he's like, get ready for this because that's all you're going to be able to do. I said, I'm already past that. See, but again, another one trying to tell me how I'm going to heal.
Right. Some poor guy
So
walking through Walmart, and you just ruined his day.
exactly. Oh man.
Oh, that's awesome.
Another one too, with the power of the mind. My personal training clients comes in, and I could tell she was crying. And so she's like, "Can I talk to you?" I was like, "Yeah, of course." So like, let's go in the office. And so we turned her PT session into a therapy session. Right? So apparently, she and her daughter, I guess, got into a car accident. I guess her daughter was pretty badly injured, and so she's crying now, and she's like, "The doctor said she's not going to be able to walk again." And I said, "Oh, stop the press! Do not put that in her head. Do not." I said, "You know my story. Like, you know what I was told." I said, "You do not put that in her head, because if you do, she's going to believe it. And then mind heals the body. So if you're telling the mind she's not going to walk again, her body's going to respond accordingly."
Yeah.
And I think it was 4 months later she started walking again. So it's like, you'll be surprised what you can accomplish when you focus on the task, right? If you focus on the struggles, you're going to bring more struggle into your life, because whether people want to believe it or not, the law of attraction is real. Right. So
Right.
if you focus, like when I was in that dark place, I was in that dark place because I was focused on the struggles. When I got back into coaching, that was when the light kicked in, and then I was able to see the opportunities. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's why I share that story, because too many times people, not even so much other people do it to themselves. They create problems that don't exist.
Right.
They talk about all of the negative what ifs, and then they talk about the, oh well, I'm not good enough, nobody wants to hear my story's not big enough or strong enough, and they just go down this rabbit hole, and that's where the shut up comes from.
Yeah.
It's like, stop talking about all the reasons you can't do something and just get started. Like, once you get started, you're gonna see, oh, I can do this. Oh, I can do this. But when you're in that negative rabbit hole, it's like sitting in that beautiful mansion with the lights off.
I mean, I love the origin story of shut up and grind. It's perfect. It fits you great. So
Thank
the
you.
no, I mean you. I mean, I think anybody who's listening to this gets you and where you're coming from. And I love the stories. The podcast also. I've had a
Yes.
chance to hear it, so it fits you. I full disclosure have not had a chance to read the book yet.
Right.
How is the book different from the podcast and from what you do, on a platform like this? And then what does it offer folks?
Yeah. So the podcast is about inspiring people to take action. The book is showing them how to take action.
I see.
Right. So for example, let me read you a couple of the chapters titles. So chapter one is there's nothing wrong with you. Right. And in that first chapter, growing up, I had a bad stutter. So it's bad enough being the black sheep of the siblings. So like they're all big and strong and I'm short and scrawny. I had skin tags on my right ear. And then I couldn't say three words without so I'm getting teased for
Wow.
that. I'm getting constantly asked, what are those things on your ear? It was like I really thought something was wrong with me. And it's like it's like even my sisters were taller than me. So it's like, what is wrong with me? And then just a simple quote from my speech pathologist. He was like, "There's nothing wrong with you, Robert." He's like, "You just get so excited to talk that your mouth is ahead of your brain." It's like, just take a couple of deep breaths, slow it down, and that was it. He didn't give me any like fancy medicine or fancy tools or any of these things. It's like, dude, just slow down. That was it. So that whole time, those first 7 years of my life, I'm thinking I'm some freak show, and I just had to slow it down. Right. So the other ones I'll go through quickly. So the story I just told, how a tragic injury was the best thing to happen to me. One of the most powerful ones, the pain of your past is fuel for a better future. Because like when you go through pain, if you just focus on the pain, like I was saying when I brought up Waleska's story of finding her brother, if you just stay stuck on the pain, you're never gonna heal. It's like you got to take those teachable moments and turn it into a purpose where you can help other people. So there's only 15 chapters, and in these 15 chapters, there's 13 worksheets. And so as people go through these worksheets, we're going to unpack the clutter in their subconscious mind, and then at the end it tells you what to do with that information, whether you want to turn it into a blog, whether you want to host your own podcast, guest on podcast, try to feature your story on television. And I give a podcast pitch template, the one that I use to get on podcasts, and I guarantee at least 5 podcast bookings because I have a lot of podcast friends. And that book is only $20.
It's
20 bucks, and you get all of that. Because let me tell you, I could turn that into a masterclass and charge $10,000 for it, and just target business owners. But I want the average everyday person that's struggling, or they want to make a pivot and they don't know how, or they're afraid to. Going through these worksheets will give them that clarity. And the word I've used multiple times, vision.
nice. I love the worksheet part of it. I saw that, when I was reading the description of the book, that you had the worksheets in there. So it's actionable. It's not just read
Yes.
this and go feel good. It's, read this and then do something about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Which is kind of
Yes.
like
Like I'll
shut up and
go
grind.
through. Yes. So I'll go through, I'll share a blurb about me, how tie in how they can do it themselves, and then boom, there's the worksheet. Put it into action. Then you go into chapter two, same thing. Like I think chapter four is prioritizing yourself without the guilt. So people can get that. I put that worksheet on my website as a free download that people can get at robertbfoster.com, just so they can see how the worksheets are structured. Like this isn't some cookie cutter program. This is stuff I actually did because people ask me all the time, like, oh, well, how do you do this and how do you do this is how. So I took all the hows and I turned it into something that people can follow through, that can help give them clarity. Like I mentioned earlier, that my life stories, I've mastered them, and this is how, by taking these steps and breaking down every inch of what I've gone through. And again, instead of like you don't focus on the pain, you focus on how did this not break me. Like for example, when my father passed, my nephew was close to my father, and he gained like 100 pounds. It's like he just went down a dark path, and because he just couldn't accept the fact that dad was gone.
Yeah.
So I mean, people process things differently. Like I don't teach people how to process in this book. Like you process what you need to process, and you go at your own pace. But when you're ready, these worksheets will tell you how to turn that pain into purpose.
Nice. And I noticed the subtitle on the book, I'm looking in your background there. It says Overcoming Self-Doubt and the Fear of Public Speaking. So the self-doubt part, self-explanatory. I mean, just
Yes.
from listening to you today. But why the focus on public speaking as opposed to anything else?
Because when people are trying to heal from pain, talking about it is the best way.
Hmm.
Like when my father passed, right? This is so funny how the universe works. So when my father passed, I actually had a podcast the very next day, right? And it would have been very easy to cancel it. My guests would have understood. My audience would have understood. Like, you just freshly lost your dad. But I speak about showing up all the time. It's like, you got to show up. Like, you got to show up. Coincidentally, 4 months prior, my guest booked for that time slot. And our topic was grief. It's like,
Yeah.
who would have thought, right? The topic was
That's
grief.
not an accident, man.
Yep. So I spent the
No,
first 10 minutes, like I strung together a bunch of photos of my dad. Some of them had my mom in there too. And so I opened the show with a tribute to him, bawling like a baby for like probably the first 10 minutes of that episode. And then my guest comes on, and she's already crying just from my intro in the tribute, because like her son ended up being killed. Well, he was murdered at 29 years old. So between the two of us, it's like what people have to realize when it comes to storytelling, there isn't a pain Olympics, right? Pain is pain. Right. So she lost her son. I lost my father. Like my mom just last year beat cancer, and say a woman who's 9 months pregnant, they have to get up every day and face a certain pain. Like no one pain is worse than the other, right? Pain is pain. And once we understand that, now you can switch to that storytelling. Because I bet you that pregnant woman, she can talk about her swollen feet, pain in the back, kid on the bladder, foot in the ribs, her being uncomfortable, not able to sleep, things, like she can speak on all of those things. Cancer, waking up thinking, is today the day? You know what I mean? Is
yeah,
today the
really.
day? Facing that reality. My mom getting up and having to go for radiation treatments every single day for 21 days. But in the end, she won. In the end, that pregnant woman's gonna hopefully give birth to a healthy baby. And I know things happen. That's why I threw in the hopefully,
Sure.
right? And me being told I'd never run a jump again, I persevered, and boom, here I am. 200 obstacle races later, 16 gold medals in track and field. It's like I hurt my knee doing the high jump, and since I've rehabbed, I haven't lost. I'm undefeated in the high jump. You know, and again, but I had to do that because that finished the comeback. It took me 7 years to get the courage to get back on the track, because I did not want to go through that rehab again at all. But I was like, you know what? I have to do this. And in the middle between that knee injury, I know I just shifted gears, but from that knee injury to getting back on the track, I donated a kidney to my sister. So right as my knee was getting stronger, they I did that donation. They cut through my abdomen, and I had to heal from that. But I did my first obstacle race 5 months after that surgery. And my surgeon was trying to talk me out of it. And I was like, listen, I'm not here asking permission. I was like, I'm telling you, I'm doing a race. This was May 26th of 2011. I said, I'm doing a race second week in September. I said, you tell me the best way to prepare to do that. And he at first he's like, I really don't want to have this talk. I'm like, well, it's happening with or without your advice. So with you being a surgeon, I would appreciate some advice. And we ended up doing it. And that race just fell in love. I fell in love with obstacle racing. Like it wasn't even okay. A little bit. The first one was a little bit out of spite, just because I was told I wouldn't run or jump again. So the
Right.
first one was a little bit out of spite. But now it's like I just love pushing myself because you build resilience by doing hard stuff. So
Yeah.
so so you get out there, you're on a steep mountain, you got these obstacles, it's wet, sometimes it's cold, sometimes it's rainy, but you keep pushing through. And just like in everyday life, there's days you don't want to, there's days you're not feeling well, there's days you feel overwhelmed, there's days you feel burnt out, but you have a vision. And when you have a vision, when you have a purpose, you can break through those other feelings.
Wow. Now, when you say obstacle race, are you talking like Spartan stuff or, Tough Mudders, or is there another name
Yes,
for it? Or exactly, yeah,
all of it,
what is it you're doing?
all the
All of them.
races, all the races. I've
Those are
done
not
so many
easy.
different ones. I don't even think I can count. I would say
Those are not easy.
I know, and that's why I love them.
Oh
If they
my.
were easy, it'd be a waste of my time.
Yeah, well, my youngest son did a Spartan race and told me
Yeah,
about it afterwards. And this is a young, 20-year-old, perfect shaped kid who came
yeah,
home and was like, "Wow, that was insane." And
yeah.
you're doing it after, surgery and all this other, rebuilt, knee and I mean, wow, man.
I've had 7 surgeries.
Ouch. Are those
Yeah.
follow-ups to the ones you had, or new stuff that you haven't sprung on us yet?
So shoulder, I had one in a sensitive area, and elbow. So funny story on the elbow. I didn't even need physical therapy after the elbow surgery, which is weird. But so I had my arm in a sling, and I was taking out the trash. And my oldest son, he was out shooting baskets, and I just happened to glance over. He's in my line of sight, so I glance over. He's like, "Don't come over here, old man, with your broken elbow." Right? I beat his tail left-handed. Beat his tail left-handed. I was like, "We trying to call me out like that?" So I had my arm in the sling. I just bunched up my shirt and I gripped it so that my arm wasn't moving, and I just played him left. Give you a little glimpse into how my mind works.
Yeah, I was gonna say seven kids, and you're the youngest, and I mean this all tracks. So I got it. Makes perfect sense to me at this point.
That's great.
So, oh, I love it, man. I really do. So if I can, I mean,
Yeah.
just talk a little bit about the podcast. You use this primarily for inspiration, and
Yes.
and so you're bringing people on for this, and then you also have solo episodes that you do talking about stuff.
Not anymore. Not
Okay,
anymore. Like just mainly if someone cancels, and if I'm pretty well versed in what they were gonna share, then I'll just keep the episode and just share my perspective on what they were gonna share.
right.
But no, I very rarely do solo episodes now.
Okay. Good deal. So it's carried by interviews at this point, and
Yes.
solos are like in case of emergency, type of thing.
Yeah.
I understand. I
Yes.
understand. So, all right, good deal. Um, I need to kind of throw in my corny question. It's kind of like my Arnold
Okay.
Schwarzenegger "I'll be back" thing. I just like to make sure I
Yeah.
get. And with somebody like you, I bet I get a great answer. So, real simple stuff though. In terms of doing the podcast, and a lot of other podcasters who are listening probably, are interested in hearing this too. You've been doing this a long time. I mean, 358 episodes. You're no rookie. So you're established by any standard.
Yes.
As you have been doing this and as you do your podcast, what is the thing about doing your podcast that you love the most? And what is the thing about doing your podcast that you just dislike the most, would love to throw it out the window, wish it didn't exist, type of thing?
So let me answer the second one first because I threw that out after about the fourth or fifth episode, and that was editing. So I don't edit. I don't edit anymore. I live stream and then I immediately upload it. So if
Attaboy.
there's
All
any if
right.
there's any hiccups or whatever, oh well, we laugh about it and we move on. So
I love
that's
that.
the easy one.
Love
The
it.
thing that I love most about it is meeting the people I interview. Because there's a lot of us, we keep contact like through social media and stuff. We've collaborated some. I do panels where I'll bring back 6 of my former guests, I pick one topic. Like the last one I did was last year, and the topic was embracing vulnerability. And we give 7 different takes on the same topic. And I love that because there's no one size fits all for everyone. Like I know my style is I'm very that right between the eyes, right? I don't sugarcoat, I don't coddle. It's like what you need to hear is what I'm going to tell you.
Right.
And I know that doesn't work for everyone. There are people that need it more gentle. There's people that need all their questions answered, and there's people that need the structure of what the plan is. And there's people who don't care. Just tell me what to do. You know what I mean? So understanding that that's the beauty of my show. It's like I can bring on another fitness professional and we can share 2 completely different philosophies, but they're both going to lead you to results. So that's what I love about it, is hearing different perspectives. And one thing that's consistent with almost every single guest, because the show's about overcoming obstacles,
Sure.
is that they were in a point where they were low. It doesn't always go straight to suicidal, but they hit a point where they were low, feeling some depression or feeling unfulfilled. And almost everyone across the board said that they reached a point where they had to change something. It's like
Yeah.
people can read all the books, listen to all the podcasts, go to all the therapists, but nothing's gonna change until you flip your switch. You have to flip it. You have to be that one. Like again, like when I was in that dark place, I had to flip it. I had to go and restart my podcast. I had to go down and talk to my coach and start coaching again. Now I'm the one that had to show up for those athletes. And then the purpose was established. And then that depression went away.
Nice. Nice. All right. Yes, I love it. I really do. And podcast is great. I'm looking forward to checking out the book, especially with its focus on speaking and getting things out that way. I think that's a unique perspective. There's a lot of people who talk about the self-doubt part, but you've just got a really unique way of dealing with it, and sort of solving the issue, which is fascinating. I like it a lot. So very, very
It's
cool.
kind of like when people go to a movie, right? Whether they really like it or whether they really hate it, they can speak passionately about it because they
Mhm.
just saw it, right?
Yeah.
It's fresh. But when it comes to pain or PTSD or trauma, like going back to my father, this was, I think, a month or two before he passed. We were up at the VA because he's a Vietnam veteran, and he was trying to get benefits for my mom. And so to get the benefits, he had to tell his PTSD story. And now growing up, he never spoke about the war. Never. Like I remember in school, I had to do a report. Like my grandfather was in World War II, and he had no problems talking to me about his experience in World War II. Dad wanted nothing to do with talking about Vietnam. He didn't watch any movies about it, no documentaries about it, nothing. He just completely tabled it. And so there was one year though, we were in the pool, we had a reunion. He had a little bit too much Captain and Coke, and like he did tell some bits and pieces, and we're all in the pool like, we're like, we can change the subject now, right? So back to the VA's office. Now my dad was a manly man. Like the only time I've seen him cry was at funerals, and even then it was just like little trickles, right? So he just never showed emotion like that. Well, displayed emotion like that. Like you could always feel that he cared. He just wasn't like a hey, I love you. Like that wasn't his style. But he showed up to everything. So like you knew he cared.
Yeah.
Right. So we're sitting at that table and the VA rep comes in. And you can tell it's just routine for her. She sits down, she's all peppy. It's like, so what's your PTSD? just kind of like giddy, right? And so now my father, this is another image that'll forever be burned into my brain. So he's sitting there at the table and he kind of like slumps his shoulders and he puts his head down. And at first he's like, I can't do this. He's like, I don't want to do this today. He's like, I don't want to do this today. And I was like, Dad, I said, just take a minute. I said, just breathe. I said, I'm here. She's here. Like, we're all here. Like, why push this back? Like we're all here. So again, he puts his head down, and this is where it broke my heart. I start seeing tears hitting the table. So I was like, all right, take your time. I'm rubbing his back. So then he sits up, and then he just let it out. And I'm not going to share what he said because it was not good, right? But I wish I never heard it, to be honest, right? I wish I don't need that. But the most gut wrenching part, he held that in for 60 plus years. 60 plus years. So, to further answer your question about why the fear of public speaking, because of moments like that, if he got to a place to where he could talk about that, and then his purpose could have been going and speaking to younger veterans, right? And now he's in that purpose, and that would have helped his feelings of PTSD subside. And full disclaimer, not a counselor, not a therapist. I heal people through storytelling. So he, I just wish he would have had the opportunity to let that out. Because I think we could have done something special with that. But just the fact that he let it hurt him, and as strong of a man as he was, he couldn't bring himself to speak about that.
Yeah.
So that was another big motivation for writing the book, because there are people that are holding stuff in right now today that has power to help others, and hopefully, well, not hopefully, if they go through all the worksheets, it's going to unlock the power in all of their stories.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing that with us here. I really do. Not just because, hey, give you a chance to, do what you're preaching everybody else do, get it off your angst a little bit, but because I didn't really realize. I knew that there was a big influence from your dad in what you're doing.
Yes.
I would recognized early that you've been kind of called to do this. I guess what I didn't really realize until that story is that everything that you're doing here, I mean, this entire business is a tribute to your dad, man.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely. 100%.
I love that.
100%.
Power to you.
Thank
I
you.
mean, that's fantastic. It really is. And wow, man, you're gonna make me cry. Stop that. All right. That's amazing. It really is. And I wish you all of the best in everything that you do moving forward. That's great. Um, all right, I have to ask another podcasting question. So
Okay.
let me get that out as as we kind of pull things together and move towards wrapping this up. The one of the things that everybody always wants to know, especially from somebody who's as accomplished as you are in what you're doing here, is what's your best piece of advice to folks who are podcasting who are not quite where you are now?
Is be you. Be you. Like my first few episodes, I came in, dressed up nice and all that, did the whole send me talking points and do me this and send me that. And they're just trying to be like everyone else. But it's like, but that's not me. I'm like, I manage a gym and I'm an athlete. I wear tank tops 95% of the time. So like to sit here and say show up authentically, it wouldn't be authentic if I showed up in a shirt and tie. Like that's not me, right? It's
Right.
not what I do. And I was actually told by a speaker coach that I wouldn't be taken seriously if I interview in a tank top. And here we are. You know what I mean? So
358 episodes later. Yeah.
yeah, and I guessed it on well over probably 150. So there was just once I actually had a speaking gig earlier this morning where the woman came on and she's like, oh, I expected you to be a little more professional. I was like, just wait till I start talking. You'll forget all about this shirt. Not even worry about that.
Oh,
But
wow.
but anyway, yeah. But just be your authentic self. Don't try to be like Joe Rogan. Don't try to be like these celebrities. Just get up and just be your authentic self. And then your tribe is going to gravitate towards you. Because like as I watched back those first couple episodes, I was trying to be like other podcasts I was listening to, and I
Yeah.
wasn't being me. Like I wasn't showing up authentically.
Yeah.
So once I started doing that, like pretty much I posted in one group. I don't even remember the name of the group because I was just doing one show a week. This week I think I'm doing 5 because I have my OCR show too, and I'm guesting on I think 7 this week. But but once I posted in this group once, and then I booked out for 6 months from one post. So I was like, oh my lord! It's like, all right, let me add a second day. So I added a second day, and then that one within probably 72 hours was booking 4 months out for that second day. And I was like, all right, I'm on to something here, but it all started to change once I started showing up as Robert B. Foster, the person.
Nice. Great advice. Absolutely great advice. I love that. All right, brother. Listen, I wish you all of the best with everything with the book, with whatever's coming next that you're alluding to. I'm going to be watching, so I can't wait to see what happens, what comes out. And of course, with the podcast and with everything that you're doing. Thank you for coming in here today, sharing the way that you did, and honestly, dropping the advice and, setting the example the way you have for so many people, man. I'm touched, I'm honored, and I love that you were here today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity. This was a lot of fun.
I'm glad. I'm glad. Thank you for that. Folks, this has been another absolutely awesome episode of the Podcaster Nation. This is the podcast that's about podcasters, it's for podcasters, and it's done by podcasters. As we showed yet again today, folks, this is the place where the rising tide truly raises all ships. So keep sailing.